Right, hello everyone. I'm going to start with my mum. Some of you know my mum is on this retreat, and it was when I was younger. It was just me and my mum growing up, so it just feels right to start there. And I've always sort of had a lot of love for my mum, and at the same time, she's been sort of the one that sort of started the teaching in me. But when people say I'm from a Buddhist family, I do find it slightly tricky because as much as my mum might have sort of taught me reasons are not causes, actions have consequences, and sort of promoted non-violence, at the same time I have sort of grown up with this like love of clothes, leather bags, like salmon bagels, so it does kind of it's a bit strange. So I don't really know if I feel like I've really come from a Buddhist family, but I definitely think there's definitely been that sort of thread of ideas. So I was brought along to the LBC first time when I was really young, apparently like 2 or something. I obviously can't remember, but so that's cool. But I went on my first retreat when I was 10. That was actually this winter retreat. We went on the second half, and I did actually get involved. So I would go to the meditations. At the same time, I didn't go to groups, obviously, because that would have been kind of weird with a 10-year-old. But I did ask lots of questions, and I did really try and give it a go. I remember actually that I think after my first retreat, I was quite inspired by it, and I did take cushions. I went to boarding school at this time. I did take cushions with me with the idea that I might actually meditate. And I think my friends walked in on me, sort of laughed at me, put my cushions away, and never got them out again, pretty much. On my second retreat, we went on a retreat in the next year as well, and on my second retreat, I actually had quite a difficult experience. Basically, I was meditating like everyone, and I went home, went back to where we were staying, which was like at the back, and I was with the girls because I was sleeping with my mum. I was at the back, like a bit away from the retreat tank, so it was in Sidford, and I basically had a really tough experience of your mind sort of creating reality, and basically when I went to sleep, I imagined that there was someone inside the room. Basically, like a man had got in, and I remember just sitting, like lying in my bed, just trying not to move because I was so afraid that he'd get me or whatever. And so after that second retreat, I kind of had a break from Buddhism, or a big break. I just stopped. It kind of was also that age where it wasn't cool to be scared or like have these kind of things going on. So yeah. At this point at home, I was living like a prince. My mum really sort of, as her only son, made my life was very easy. Looked after. But at the same time, it was a little bit tricky because I had a bit of sort of lack of confidence. I kind of had a bit more weight. I was like a bit more weight. I kind of told myself I wasn't good at sport, and like I was dyslexic at the time, so I was having a bit of difficulty as well with like education. But anyway, my Prince livelihood completely changed when Warren came into my life. So he kind of changed things up, much to my disdain. But I had to. So basically, by the time I started sixth form, I'd become a lot more independent. Had to help out around the house. And also he got me running, which meant I lost loads of weight. And by the time I got to sixth form, I was starting to get a bit more confident in myself, and was maybe verging on a bit egotistical. But hey, so I go to this new sixth form, and I meet a girl. I start dating a girl who's actually a Christian. I know it all goes wrong from here. So basically. From this moment, sorry, I've got to go quite quickly here. From this moment, I decide, all right, she's a Christian, I'll give it a go, I'll go to church, see what happens. And when I went there, they sort of got us into a little group, kind of like the groups we've been doing now. And I was kind of asked, what's your exposure to Christianity? And I said that basically that my father has schizophrenia, and he's basically had that since I was born, and that's he's fed it into Christianity, this sort of evangelical Christian. He's kind of mad off it. And I told him about this, and that this sort of happened at the time I was born. And effectively his response was that you're a special child because you've shown your dad to God. And obviously at this point I completely break down. I had a very confusing relationship with my dad, and although I had a lot of love for him because I would meet up with him and like, but at that point, you know, that was something I wasn't quite prepared to hear. But what it meant was afterwards I called my dad, told him about this experience, and he basically said, you know, this is great, you know, brilliant. And next thing you know, I'm in this world, and I've sort of joined onto my dad's church. I start going to this, and I have a relationship with my dad for the first time. But obviously, this church is a very backward church, Branhamite church anyway, and you know, women shouldn't wear trousers, not kissing a girl till you're married. So it's very, but anyway, so it was really difficult because I really wanted to believe it, and I did believe it, but at the same time, like when it was telling me that like my, you know, friends who didn't believe in God were the devil, or that they were going to show me wrong, you know, it was really sort of tricky to handle, and it never did quite work. But at the same time, I was obviously so gripped by, you know, being able to be with my dad, and you know, at church everyone was like, oh, you're like your dad, you're so amazing, you're so confident, this, that. So I was like, cool, that's nice, but obviously it wasn't quite right. And then a few things happened, but I just want to say, like, effectively, for my A-level first grades, AS grades, I didn't do as well as I wanted to. By the time I got to sixth form, I actually started doing quite well academically, and I really had a big drive to do well. It didn't go quite well, and I just thought to myself, you know, on one hand, I prayed so much, why have I not done well? And like on another hand, why did I spend all that time praying? Of course it wasn't going to go well. Like, anyway, so at this point, I basically slowly sort of went away from this sort of having this sort of Christian mindset, or believing in a God, reading the Bible every day. It sort of started to change, and so I sit my AS exam, my A2 exams. They do fine. I go to university. Have I done 8 minutes yet? Okay. I go to university in Sheffield. I'm from London. I'd never really been anywhere up north. This was like a big experience for me. But really at the same time, it was kind of in the idea of when you go to university, I started at the perfect point. I was sort of confident in myself. I had at my A-level sort of school, I was with really sort of confident sort of black friends, and I sort of had an Asian friend. I mean, like, I went to the school before that, they were like all white, and then suddenly I was like, and I just felt quite, you know, they had lots of confidence, and it kind of started to get on me, and I started feeling quite confident. So by the time I started university, I was ready, and like, I just threw myself right in there. I met my first Northern friend called Owen. I just have to mention him. But then I just throw myself obviously into the whole culture of going out, drinking, trying to get girls, you know, and that was great. I mean, I was able to do that. I was able to do that for like 5 days or like 2 weeks, you know, drinking every night, and then maybe at the end of that, I'd think, what am I doing? I'll tidy my room, and that was fine. So that was my first year. Buddhism is just gone, like it's nowhere. That was my first year basically. I did sometimes revise for exams, and like I did do rowing, so I had some things going, but really I was a bit disillusioned with my course. I wasn't really engaged. And by summer, I booked myself on a holiday to Croatia with my friend Owen and some girls. And I literally, like, this was it. That circle there was the holiday. It was gonna be everything. It was like, you know, unknown music. And it just went all wrong. It went all wrong. I mean, lots of times when I was at university and I was sort of drinking, and maybe I got so drunk that I couldn't remember the night, and that happened quite often. And people told me, you know, oh, you were so happy. I would believe them. But at this holiday, it really started to that idea started to sort of crumble. Every night I was just going out, just getting so drunk I could barely remember it in the morning, and then just sort of waking up, just feeling like, you know, what am I doing? You know, this is quite painful actually. I remember just sort of like at points sort of in the day, sort of like sitting by a pool, like, you know, everyone sort of, you know, exotic shorts, bikinis, like, you know, this is, you know, I had a slight moment of this is heaven, and then a slight moment of like, this is nothing? Well, I don't know. But anyway, one night I got so, I was with my friends, and also all of our friends, our friendship group, like these girls and my friend Owen, it just didn't work, and we were sort of always arguing. But anyway, one night I got so drunk that I basically pissed on one of my friends, one of the girls I was with, and I can't remember this, but I remember in the morning waking up and have a slight, just that slight feeling that it happened, and I was just, I knew that however much I said sorry, I wasn't going to be forgived, and it just killed me. So I had to I had to leave, I had to get out of the situation. I went for a walk, and I just sat down by looking out onto like a pool. I just started eating these grapes, and I was just really thinking, what am I doing? I just felt like I was going to blink, and that was going to be my university gone. I was going to be 30. I just felt like I was not nothing was going to. Sorry, no, I gotta go. Anyway, so I just felt like it meant something to me. Anyway, I just was like, this isn't making me happy. This isn't making me happy. So, and then the next night, I got so drunk again that I was crying, like I was with my friend Owen when I was on a beach, and this is what he remembers as my lowest moment. I remember that as being my lowest moment. He remembers this. I was just lying on the beach, and I was basically just in floods of tears saying that I miss my dad. And like in the morning I remembered it, and I just thought that was just so fake. That wasn't anything real. I was just drunk. But now when I look back, I really do think that was sort of me saying I miss meaning in my life. That was something that actually, that relationship at least, actually did have meaning for me. So on that moment of sort of like reflecting, thinking about things, the only thing I could really have as a positive solution was that I'd work really hard. I didn't have any other, Buddhism was not on the question. That was my only thing. But what that effectively meant was when I went back to university, I just punished myself with work. Like I kind of would just work in a very uncreative way, but just at the table, all the time. And I just started to really resent my peers who I felt weren't doing anything with their life. Obviously, it was just a reflection that I didn't really know what I was doing. And I had a lot of resentment. And like in my free time, instead of like watching TV or relaxing, I'd sort of like watch Question Time or like read politics or just something. I'd just get more and more and more sort of angry. And then by the time, so this is coming up to Christmas last year, by the time it came up to there, I came back from university. I was just sat around with my mum and Warren. I was basically saying, I don't know what the point is. Like I just watched like a thing about Apple and all the how that we're just living on slaves, and I was just like, the world's just horrible. And any time that I went out and got drunk, I did stop drinking as nearly as much, but any time I did, if I did have a hangover, I would just feel like the worst mental states like ever. So when I I've lost my thought. I don't know where I am. Christmas, So when I was coming up to Christmas, my mum told me about the retreat. I was like, I can't lose anything. I kind of remembered that everyone was nice, and I kind of thought, I'd be able to relax a bit in the evening, but I really had no idea of, a spiritual path. I was really against kind of religion for all kinds of reasons, as you can probably imagine. But when I came here, I remember just sitting at the back, like sitting on my cushion. I was like, I should go and learn to meditate again. And I remember just thinking, no. And it just sort of came back to me really quickly, and I started like trying to get involved, like doing the pujas, and then basically I was enjoying it. And then Jana Varcher did like a talk like last night, and at one stage he was like, no, the only thing we're concerned about is like no honey for porridge. I later went to Jana Varcher's accommodation and realised he has lots of honey. But anyway, at the same time, he basically sort of shook everyone just like yesterday. But then he offered the infinite, and I just had a sense which I'd completely lost, that there is beauty. That's the only way I could describe it. I just remember feeling there is beauty. And since then, last year, I've been really trying to live as a Buddhist. Because it just provides me with a new perspective where, I've just got so much from it. being able to try and put other people first. My house situation was really starting to get difficult before I came to Buddhism, and since I've been trying to put other people first. I find it difficult to put this part into words, but it's just a totally new perspective. That's why I'm Buddhist.